digital health, the first challenge that comes to everybody's mind when we talk about digital health, and if you have to summarize in one sentence, I'm sure all of you will agree, the biggest challenge is that, bottom line is that, how do we capture the patient at that point of care? Be it at home, be it at the clinic, be it at the doctor's bedside, be it at the ward bedside, or wherever it happens, or be it at the diagnostic centers. That is where IoT comes to play. IoT is a solution to that problem. How do we capture the patient at that point of care without human interventions? You don't have to transcribe it somewhere, transcribe it to a digital data, so many other things. So when we talk about IoT and continuum of care that we talked about, I think continuum of care is highly dependent on IoT. That's the kind of importance IoT needs to be. If you want actually continuum of care to happen, IoT has to happen. Otherwise, it will always remain piecemeal silos. So when it comes to continuum of care, I always feel that it is contextual. Where do we begin the continuum of care is the question. For an antenatal care, the continuum of care begins from where? When the pregnancy is announced, or at marriage, wherever it is. For a diabetologist, the continuum of care happens when the patient reports to him. He or she reports to him and continues taking treatment from him. And so continuum of care is also contextual. So we need to segment the deployment of IoT based on some kind of an understanding that we have about continuum of care. Now, I would, for the purpose of discussions today, instead of kind of boiling the ocean, I would say that we should look at it in a segmented. One segment is under the roof of a hospital, that is during hospital care. How do IoT play a role during hospital care? Which means right from clinical thermometer to cath lab, from X-ray to PET, from the biochemistry to whatever investigation parameters that we take, and the clinical monitoring of the patient that happens in the inpatient and outpatient services. How do we integrate all of them and create the IoT component of it? That is one is inside the hospital. The second one I think everybody is talking about is the home care, where patient is not in the hospital and you're at home, and how do you monitor? Be the glucose levels, the blood pressure, whatever you want to monitor. Third is the preventive aspects of Fitbits and whatever is happening. But I want you to, so besides these two, which I think the industry is working in a major way, I would suggest that there is an untapped opportunity for the industry as well as for the government to look at, which we have not looked at, is the occupational health areas. In the sense, the factory campuses, the mines, the hazardous working conditions where people are working, and noisy place where noise pollution is at higher end, radiation. These are the areas I think IoT can play a big role. So for example, a person who starts working in a mine and he works for say 30 years, and whatever diseases he has acquired over a period of time, we don't know. Another thing is in a noisy area where a person is working. So we need to apply IoT in a big way in the occupational health area. That's an area which is untapped, I feel, for the industry to look at. And why I said it is very apt to discuss it in this context. When it comes to occupational health, preventive health, public health, we always consider it in the domain of the government more than the private players, because there is not much of commercial activity that can happen for a private player to be interested in working in that area. So I personally feel that these discussions that we have today, I hope you all take it up, wherein occupational health, industrial health, those areas come into play when we discuss IoT beyond hospitals and home care. I think if that is done, I think we are encompassing the whole spectrum of healthcare than just the sick care. That's what I feel. Thank you.